Rich, the title of your book is The Attributes. So can you tell us about, what attributes are to kick us off?
The attributes I wrote about because when we talk about what causes people to do the things they do in whatever environment, and the background I come from, we were in all sorts of environments. Some were great, some were awful. But most of the time they were challenging, stressful, and uncertain. And in those types of environments, the question is, what are those elemental things that cause us to keep moving? Because so often things we train for and skills that we're great at seem to recede or even go away altogether when we're in those environments. So the attributes are those elemental qualities that tell us how we're going to show up, right? Skills are trained. Everybody can learn how to shoot a gun, ride a bike, drive a car. Therefore, they're easy to measure, see, and assess, but they tell us what to do in specific known situations. Attributes are different. They're inherent. We're born with the levels of patience and adaptability and situational awareness, and they inform the way that we show up when we learn how to ride a bike, for example, and we fall off a dozen times. Our levels of resilience and adaptability and perseverance will inform the way we show up when we're in that situation. So as such, they're hard to assess, measure, and test, and they're hard to see, but they're most visceral and visible in situations and environments of uncertainty, challenge, and stress, which is why when I was running SEAL training for the command I was running it at, it was such a great laboratory because everything about SEAL training is about throwing people into challenge, uncertainty, and stress and seeing what comes out. And I always joke, in regular SEAL training, you spend hundreds of hours running around with boats on your head and carrying telephone poles on your shoulders and freezing in the surf zone. And over the course of a 20-year career, I did hundreds of combat missions and I did probably thousands of training operations, and never on one did I carry a telephone pole or a boat on my head, right? So in that process, they weren't training me to be a SEAL, right? What they were doing was they were putting me into a situation to see if I had what it took to do the job, right? They were teasing out these attributes of personality. So the attributes goes over, and I extracted it for all of us because all of us have our own engine. We're all made up of certain attributes and have different levels. So the attributes I talk about in the book are the ones that, kind of define optimal performance. How can we do the very best with what we've got in the moment? And I go over the 25, which I think there's obviously more than 25, but I think those are the kind of the most common I've seen in my experience.
So just a clarifying question there, Rich, which I think people will be wondering. You mentioned skills are obviously trained. How do you view our ability to expand or develop or, refine attributes?
Yes, attributes can't be trained like a skill, right? So if Stephen finds himself impatient and wants to be more patient, I can't sit down and give Stephen a class on how to be patient. I can't teach him how to be patient. An attribute must be developed.
But my wife would be really happy if you could.
That's right, yeah.
Let me just throw that out there.
Yeah, but it has to be self-motivated, self-directed, and it takes a conscious effort, right? You must decide as an individual, I want to develop this, and then, this is the hard part, you have to deliberately throw yourself into a situation of discomfort and uncertainty to develop that. So you have to throw yourself into an environment that tests your patience so that you may develop your patience. Same thing with adaptability, same thing with open-mindedness, with any of the attributes. So you can't develop them the same way you learn a skill, because we can learn a skill on the periphery, right? If all of us use a computer for 6 weeks, we'll kind of learn how to type. That's a peripheral training, right? Can't do that with an attribute. It has to be more consciously developed if you want to develop one.
If what you've heard on Flow Research Collective Radio has been helpful, please consider doing us a solid and leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening to this. Reviews help us connect to a wider audience so we can get these peak performance principles out to more people.